All right, guys, so here we are. We're going to do the voice narration part of watching the trailer, and then I'll speak a little bit about what platforms we used, as I mentioned, and then we'll kind of dissect everything, excuse me, scene by scene. So I hope that this you guys find this helpful. So in this first scene here, this is really what got me going. This is a platform called Pika Labs, and if you guys have made your way over to Curious Refuge, you'll see Caleb talking about that and the infinite possibilities that were within Pika. Pika has been created as a kind of a Discord component, and basically you'll put in certain parameters, text to AI, type in different things, and Pika will then generate imagery based on what your input was. So the more refined that you can get, a lot of times the software, or I should say the AI, will be able to follow along and generate something that's very close to what you were looking for. You can add crazy amounts of data into it, but as time goes on, they're going to get better and better and fine-tuning. For this first scene, you see that it's not perfectly crisp. It does output at a slightly lower resolution than what you would consider HD quality. A lot of you may be working with 1080, or if you have higher fidelity cameras, and even in your iPhone, you guys can shoot 4K, and then from there it just goes up. If you get professional Cinegrade cameras, you can shoot 8K, 6K, things of that nature. So that's where this software is here. So you can also put in what you're looking for with regards to the output of the video. You may say things like, I'd like a slow pan or slow zoom in, or I'd like to have it be 6:9. And for those of you that aren't aware, that's pretty much how your picture looks for movies that are going out to the movie theaters. Everything was 16:9, and basically that's considered widescreen. Another ratio that was very popular for the longest time, when we had the older television sets, they were 4:3, and so that's more of a square. The 16:9 will give you the widescreen. If you had DVD players back in the day, sometimes you would get a director's cut of a DVD movie, and it would have the bars, or what seemed to be the bars on the top and bottom. For some people, they didn't like that, but that's basically what you would see in the movie theater. So this scene I brought into Pika. I was looking for a couple cyborgs walking in a spaceship. What I was trying to get out of the software is have them in kind of like a holding cell room, as if a prisoner had escaped, and now these two cyborgs, which ended up being, for those of you that are big Star Wars fans, like stormtroopers, and they've now gotten wind that someone has escaped and they want to lock the building down. So that was the video input. That was the impetus for this particular scene to start out the trailer. The other parts, where did I get the voices from? There is another platform called 11 Labs, and they have a repository of different voices from different people all across the globe. So if you want a British accent, if you want an Australian accent, if you want an Indian accent, they can help provide you a voice for your narration or for your dialogue, which is just, it's mind-blowing how far all of this technology has gone. So I chose one that I thought fit for these particular guys, and that's how this scene got put together. Before I get too far into the rest of the video, I also want to let everybody know that as you delve deeper and deeper into these video creation. A lot of video creators do amazing work on their cell phones, and they use software like CapCut to edit and do everything on their phone, and then send it straight to TikTok or Instagram. And the file sizes, of course, are compressed because you're not recording that much video. Even though you're in 4K, you may be shooting 10 to 15 second clips. So all this to say, bear in mind, these are memory hogs. When you want to have a creative suite open, when you're doing visual effects, or when you're doing this type of work, when you're going into multiple AI platforms, this is going to take a whole lot of memory. And once you start editing it, it's going to take a whole lot of memory. And so I know that the struggle is real when it comes to having to acquire new software, because these computers are so expensive. They're a big cost for many people. So just bear that in mind. Look for videos or look for tutorials on the best types of computers. For me personally, right now, I'm editing on an iMac, and this unit here is almost 6 years old, if you can believe it. So it's been really good to me. I did boost it with a little bit more memory. On this particular unit, I have 40 gigs of memory, which for a lot of you gamers, you may think, man, that's nothing compared to what I'm using on my PC. And so just keep that in the back of your mind, that as you get really familiar with this and you want to really forge a path doing this type of work, the more computing power that you have, the better graphics processors, video cards, memory, and storage space. Look for solid state drives, what you'll see as SSDs, because those are going to be the best that you can get out there. I think that a lot of computer companies are getting away from the old spinning disks, the old hard drives. They have a much smaller shelf life, and these particular SSDs, you're looking for something with terabytes now instead of gigabytes. So 4K footage, very big file exports. So also keep that in mind when you're looking for computers that may suit you going forward. Now, I edited for a long time on a laptop, on a MacBook Pro, and back in the day when I bought that unit, I was able to upgrade the RAM on there. I believe currently you're not able to go back into the unit and upgrade the RAM. So keep that in mind when you're also looking, whether you're Mac or PC. These are all the variables that you have to consider when you're looking for a new computer for digital media, video creation, etc. So keep that in mind. It's you want to have something that's going to have a good runway. You're looking for about 3 to 5 years is probably standard, and if you can upgrade it as you go on, that's even better. So try to match the cost with the benefit, and also the cost with the longevity of the computer units that you're going to be using going forward. So that's my little footnote for these videos. So as I mentioned, this first scene was done with Pika Labs, and I'll put these links in the description below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Another thing that I challenged myself with is I wanted to use all the platforms that allowed for free content generation. So back in the day, there were a couple that have now shifted into paid subscription models, and I'll address that as we continue here, but that's also something to keep in mind. So this video was generated with the free AI platforms, and also edited with a creative suite that I already had in place. So those are also things to keep in mind. So that's scene number 1. Scene number 2, this one has a little bit of higher quality. It looks like it was generated, you know, it has a lot more sharper detail. It's a lot more pristine. This scene I generated in Runway, which is a similar platform to Pika Labs. You'll use a forum type of generation module, and you'll put in your inputs, just the same text, and then you'll have an output. These particular scenes, they take multiple iterations to get something that will probably feel right for your project. So if you're thinking that you'll just type it in and then you're going to be able to get the desired output right away, that's usually not the case. Usually you have to put in maybe 5, maybe even 10 different iterations. Sometimes you'll have to fine-tune the text even to get the best possible output. So that was done with the Runway software, and as I mentioned, you get a little bit higher quality. The voice here was also generated by 11 Labs. I wanted something that was slightly robotic, slightly alien, and so and then the background here, I was looking for some kind of like a futuristic cantina cyberpunk look, and the character was like a blue alien is pretty much what I was going for. Now this next one, this is pretty much how I got started with the project. I was really excited about the Jedi that was going to be part of the project. I like the Old Republic stuff. I think that those stories haven't really been touched on. And I know there's levels to this stuff, guys. I am a big Star Wars fan, but nowhere near some of you guys out there that really know your stuff. You guys know all the canon. You've read the books and the comics and all that. I don't have that amount of knowledge. I am just I would probably consider casual fan, maybe even a little bit more than that. I do have the figures and things like that. I've loved the Star Wars story since I was a young kid, and so I appreciate it. I love what I see when all of you guys go to the Comic-Cons and things like that, and then the Star Wars celebrations. That looks like it's such an epic time. So there's that. So the cornerstone of the project was a Jedi. I wanted a female Jedi protagonist. I wanted a Jedi with purple skin and that wore a cloak. I always thought that the Jedis were a lot cooler and more mysterious if they had a cloak on, so that's what we went for here. I also wanted her to have glowing eyes, so I chose blue for the color here. This is the first time that we're introduced to this particular Jedi, and we'll find out what role she plays here. For this particular capture, I went into software called Adobe Firefly. So if you're into graphic design, I definitely recommend, if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. It's really robust software. It's free for the moment. You can go to Adobe Firefly on Google and it'll bring you there. I think all that they require of you is signing in. And that's also text to imagery type of software, generative AI. So for this one, I plugged in the certain details that I've mentioned. You know, I wanted a purple Jedi with blue eyes wearing a black cloak, and I've got probably 20 to 25 different variations of this particular character. This is the one that I landed on, and then from there I took the character over to Runway. So just to refine her a little bit more, the voice movement, I was hoping to go to a software called DID, which I had used in the past for another generative AI video, but they've now moved into a paid subscription model. So the samples and the entry-level stuff that you were able to do for free before was not available. So then I moved into a different platform called HeyGen. And so this one, to be honest with you, I didn't feel was as strong as the DID, which I thought was fantastic. But if you use DID without the paid model, you get a lot of watermarks, and that wasn't going to work for this project. So although it did a pretty good job, I feel like it's a little bit lacking in the lip syncing area. but that is probably changing by the time you guys see this video, so keep that all in mind. But it did put out a pretty sweet representation of the character, and the voice I chose came from 11 Labs as well, and so that's what we have here. And I placed, she's having the dialogue with the alien that we've just seen. And that's just a close-up scene of the character for a little bit more tension. All right, so now this spaceship scene on the blue planet, this was created in Adobe Firefly as well. So you'll notice that some of the software will give you hyper-realistic or maybe surreal imagery. You probably can look at this and say, oh, this looks like a gaming platform or something that I would play on some kind of space game, even a Star Wars game for that matter. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Excuse me. So one of the parameters that you'll have to put on some of these software platforms is that you want to have cinematic quality and a lot of other things come into play to help round out the final image. Adobe Firefly does really well, I feel, with graphic representation. So if you're looking for some inspiration or you're kicking around an idea for your graphic design, that's a great place to start. And this one, excuse me, I feel like they're much stronger at like gaming quality type of footage than they are, let's say, capturing somebody in real life. So I'll leave that there. The motion for this one I actually brought into Pika Lab as a still photo, and they were able to animate it based on, you know, movement of the camera and what I was asking the software to do. I wanted a slight movement as if the spaceship was landing on this planet. You'll see a little bit of glowing effect. I also added that. I wanted some kind of glow in there. But the other glow that you'll see across the ship itself and on the engines, that was done in After Effects. So for those of you familiar with After Effects, that's where some of this fine-tuning comes in after the fact, just to enhance the final product. The visual effects software in tandem with these AI platforms really helps refine the imagery. This next character, this was also done in Pika Labs. I was looking for a blue hooded character that looked like an alien. This was my favorite out of them all. It looked like somebody that had some kind of regal quality about him. The background was great. I was looking for some kind of rural, futuristic background planet, and this character ended up being really cool. I have to tell you that I enjoyed getting the characters that had their face covered, because as they talk, you don't have to do the lip syncing. It's one less thing that you'll have to go through when you're editing the video or the trailer. The voice here also done by 11 Labs. So I'll just say this, all of the voices were captured by 11 Labs. I tried their different variations, and I think that they have something really spectacular going on. So it's definitely worth checking out if you need a narrator for some of your projects. That is a great place to stop. Here we have our Jedi again. This time I had her animated in runway. You'll see that the glow of the lightsaber and a little bit of her hair movement, and she blinks. That was done in runway. The background on this was a forest that I found online, so that was a separate background plate. This particular character was a little bit tricky because I had to enhance it in different software to be able to get the desired look I was going for. I noticed that when I had done her likeness with just the generative AI, I wasn't getting the full desired result, so I went back and touched it up a little bit. There's some masking that I had to do in After Effects for her face. Also in Photoshop, I brought in a still image to help some of her skin tones. You would notice it a lot more on her hands, but I decided to go for a much tighter shot. On the lightsaber, also worked on that in After Effects to get a more of a flicker and a glow. Shout out to Video Copilot, who does awesome work. This is the lightsabers are part of their saber package that you could download for free. At least you used to be able to download for free, and then use that in Adobe After Effects to fine-tune any lightsabers. Let's say if you had a hilt and you wanted to make a lightsaber style of video, that is a great resource, and you could come up with tons of different variations and really home in on some of the granular stuff about the lightsaber, the glows, how the movement is, and things of that nature. So the rest of the stuff, the rest of the stuff in this scene, there were a couple elements that were part of the outfit that the character was wearing that I also rotoscoped out. And for those of you that are not aware of rotoscoping, that's basically singling out what you want in the foreground from the background and being able to work with it a little bit more closely. So the rotoscoping helped clean out the imagery a little bit, and this is what we have for the final product here. In this next scene, none of this was generated in AI. This was all visual effects. The background, a dark forest. The lightsabers were created in After Effects, and so was the spark as they hit. Sound effects I got from online. There are many different places that you can get different lightsaber sound effects. A lot of people on YouTube do a great job of like compiling all of these different things, sound effect libraries and things of that nature, so you can use it in your productions. How have we gone this far without talking about any of the audio? The audio, sound effects, and the music, oh my gosh. So those are all of, it's 50-50. Guys, when you are making a production, if the sound is lacking, it's very easy for the audience to be taken out of the picture. I mean, without the sound, Star Wars wouldn't be what it is. Without the musical score, it wouldn't be what it is. So that is just as important as any of the visuals that you're seeing. For audio, there are a variety of different places to get sound effects. So what you can do is go to Google, search sound effects, search free downloadable sound effects. Usually you're looking for something without a licensing issue, because once you put stuff in your project, you have to, or you should make it a rule of thumb to credit whoever the composer was or the artist was on that particular work, especially if it's not your own. I mean, it just makes sense. But sometimes you will find yourself where you don't have that ability, especially when you are moving very quickly, or sometimes you forget. YouTube or Instagram will flag those works. So those are all things to keep in mind. Do your best to drop it in the description. That's the least some of these artists require, is just tagging them and making sure that they get credit, because what ends up happening is once you do that and people like your work, they're going to see their work, and then they get more work out of it and continue doing their awesome stuff. So for the music, some of the cinematic score on this project, I use Upbeat, and I'll share the link. For some of the sound effects, I went to many different places, like Mixkit, and even on Upbeat you can find sound effects as well if you're just looking for something quick. And some people have bundled it some people have bundled a bunch of different sound effects that you can find for free online as being part of their subscription services. All they ask is maybe you are on their email list so they can keep in contact with you. I think that's a very fair trade-off to be able to create these works, you know, going forward. And finally, we make the transition. We hear the music change. This is like a... And finally, you notice with the music transition, what I was going for here is something like a rebel alliance, and they're flying away in their formations, kind of into the sunset, you know, as if the cowboy or the cowgirl was riding off into the sunset. This is kind of what I was going for here. And this imagery came from Pika Labs, and I thought it was so cool to be able to be in the cockpit, kind of a first person POV. And the ship's on the side. The quality on the left hand side was a little bit lacking, but the one that is closer to us on the right hand side shows a little bit of movement, and I really think that they did a great job capturing this. And within the cockpit of the ship, you can see some of the controls and things like that, and some of the glowing screens. I just thought that was really cool. Well done. Finally, we have one more shot that we generated in Pika Labs. This one I wanted to make a little bit more dynamic, since I had planned that this was going to be the final shot. This is, I guess, akin to some of the X-Wing fighters and things like that, as if it were in a charging station. The shot was a little bit bigger with a little bit more movement, but I opted to go a little bit tighter. So we're really focused in on the starship. And that's what we did with this particular shot. As you see the glow as we're going into the second part of this clip, I achieved that in After Effects. We put some visual effects glow in there. I wanted to take it a step further because I got excited about, man, if you had like 3D glasses on, wouldn't it be so cool for this particular plane that you think is 2D only to come flying out at you? And so that was the thought that I had here. So what I did was, for this shot, I went into Photoshop, cleaned it up a little bit, and then I went into back into After Effects, and then we rotoscoped it, once again separating the ship, the starship, from the background that it was on. Much more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because the software wasn't really cooperating. These things are so nuanced that you'll leave a little part out, or you'll get more than you want. And so if you're a specialist at that, my hat goes off to you, because that becomes very cumbersome and very labor intensive, time consuming. And so I got an effect that I was happy with. We do get the plane moving forward, and then we finish that. The background stars that we have here were a plugin that is on After Effects. That's what I was going for. If you've seen a lot of the Star Wars movies, as they're rolling the credits, you have a few stars in the background of the galaxy, and that's what I was going for. The inspiration for the trailer itself I got from Rogue One, and to me that's one of the best Star Wars movies that have come out, which is incredible, because it wasn't part of the original trilogy. I would love to see more movies like that in the future of the Star Wars franchise. So I tried to match some of the pacing, some of the transitions, some of the fade to black, things like that. This particular score is from an artist on YouTube who compiled some of these clips all together. Ultimately, this is a Star Wars score, so you will know it and you'll be very familiar with it. This is part of the main theme, and somebody had compiled a version that I thought fit this trailer perfectly, so this is what I went with. And then as far as the end logo here in A Star Wars Story, once again, Rogue One was the inspiration here. I came up with the title Army of One because I felt that the Jedi was going to be the cornerstone of this project, and I wanted the focus to be on how incredible she was in being able to help a planet, help a group of people, of citizens, and kind of do this all on her own without allies or without basically being that one spark, as they say in Star Wars lore. So that's where I got that, and I was able to work in Photoshop with the Rogue One official title, and then I changed it to this one, and then I put some texture on it in After Effects, and that's what we were left with. The final shot that says coming in December, which is now, I hope for many of you, same type of thing. This one was all done in After Effects, and then we just have the quick fade in and zoom in on the text, and that's it, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, this breakdown, and like I said, I will put the links in the description of the different AI platforms that I used, and some of the a couple of the repositories that I use for music and sound. And yeah, this has been great. Thank you guys for following along, and I love to continue doing this type of work for you. But more than anything, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I'm super excited about the technology and where it's going in the future, and I think there's going to be a lot more storytelling happening and really amazing work. So stay tuned. We'll talk soon.